Westport, California. The California crash that killed a Washington married couple as well as at least 3 of their adopted children appears intentional, according to the California Highway Patrol. Greg Bartz, acting assistant chief for CHP, Northern Division, confirmed that the speedometer of the Hart family's SUV, which was found crushed at the bottom of a California roadside cliff on Monday, March 26, was pinned at 90 miles per hour. But Bartz cautioned that finding is not conclusive because a full investigation still needs to be conducted. It was documented at the time of the crash, the vehicle was pinned or was traveling at 90 miles per hour. However, that information is not conclusive or factual. The speedometer could have moved at impact or somehow was manipulated. While it has been documented that the car was traveling at 90 miles per hour upon impact, it is not conclusive whatsoever. We do have reason to believe, however, that the crash was intentional. This is all based on preliminary information, Bartz said. During a telephone press conference with media Sunday night, CHP said the Hart family SUV's onboard computer shows that the vehicle stopped at the pullout and then accelerated over the cliff, a distance of about 70 feet. The CHP spokesperson described it as pure acceleration all the way. The crash killed married couple Jennifer and Sarah Hart, as well as 3 of their adopted children, 19-year-old Marcus Hart, 14-year-old Jeremiah Hart and 14-year-old Abigail Hart. The other 3 children, 12-year-old Sierra Hart, 16-year-old Hannah Hart and 15-year-old Devonta Hart, are considered missing. However, Mendocino County Sheriff Tom Ullman said they have every indication to believe all 6 children were inside the vehicle at the time of the crash. The Woodland, Washington neighbor who tried to help the Hart children said word that the crash was likely intentional was not a shock to him. "It's not a surprise. I expected with the way things went from CPS getting called to where we are today, that was my expectation of what the outcome would be," said Bruce DeKalb Sunday evening. DeKalb and his wife called Child Protective Services and reported 15-year-old Devonta Hart, seen in that famous protest photo hugging a police officer, had asked the DeKalbs to hide food for him and the other kids. Devonta said their moms would withhold food as punishment. "It was upsetting," said Bruce DeKalb. "We were trying to make sense of it. And so we played it out for nearly a week, then we decided there was no end to it, so we probably needed to get professional help, and that's what we did," he said. Sheriff, every indication to believe all 6 kids were in SUV during California crash. The Hart family. From left, Hannah Hart, Abigail Hart, Sierra Hart, Jeremiah Hart, Jennifer Hart, Devonta Hart, Marcus Hart, and Sarah Hart. Courtesy of Mendocino County, a search warrant was conducted at the family's home in Woodland, Washington, on Thursday, March 29. Bartz said on the front of the search warrant, a box was checked that asked if a felony was committed. In order to apply for a search warrant in California, certain criteria has to be met, one of which is whether a felony may have been committed. "It is safe to report that a felony may have been committed in this case," Bartz said. Bartz said items were retrieved from the home during the search, including computers, credit cards and bank statements. On Sunday morning, Bartz said CHP could not confirm that a suicide note was retrieved from the home. But during Sunday night's teleconference with media, CHP said there was no note left behind and no obvious indicator in the Hart's home to explain what happened. The Clark County Sheriff's Office executed the search warrant, which was related specifically to the missing persons case for the 3 missing children. Deputies searched the home for bills, receipts or other evidence that could reveal why the family left. A spokesman for the sheriff's office said Thursday the home was neat and in order with no obvious signs of violence. More, officials search home of family found dead. "There's not anything in disarray." Alameda County Sheriff's Office Animal Control seized 1 cat, several chickens and ducks from the home, the Clark County Animal Control told KGW. The arriving officer said it appeared 2 dogs also died at the home but were not present. Bartz said CHP, Northern Division and the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office are working together on the investigation of the fatal crash. Currently, they are attempting to determine a timeline, path of travel and whether the family made any stops. Investigators are continuing their search Sunday and are in touch with family and friends, Bartz said. "What we know, missing children in California cliff crash feared dead. The Hart home in Woodland, Washington. Maggie Vespa. The family was traveling in a 2003 GMC Yukon on California Highway 1 when it navigated onto a dirt turnout and drove over the cliff and plunged about 100 feet onto the rocks below. The vehicle was discovered on March 26. It was a very confusing scene because there were no skid marks, there were no brake marks, Mendocino County Sheriff Tom Allman said on March 28. There was no indication of why this vehicle traversed approximately over 75 feet of a dirt pool out and went into the Pacific Ocean. The Washington State Department of Social and Health Services said Child Protective Services opened an investigation into the Hart family on March 23 after the children were identified as potential victims of neglect and abuse. CPS officials tried to contact the family on March 23, 26th and 27th, according to spokeswoman Nora West. She said they had no prior history with the family before March 23 and have not made any findings in the investigation. Related, Child Welfare Probe opened into family prior to fatal crash. More coverage on this story. Copyright 2018 KGW.